And welcome to Advanced Shouting alongside Dan Petru. My name is Noel Fogelman. We got a really busy show tonight. We got two of them.
Michael's here too.
Hi, I'm here too.
Hello, Michael's here.
Oh, hey, Michael. How are you?
Good, I'm doing good.
My eyes are shot. Oh, look at that Alias shirt.
Alias.
Yeah.
Amazing what you can get on the internet.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
I got the best looking character on the show. Sorry, Michael.
Oh,
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that.
Well, besides Grunberg.
Yes, of course.
Right. I was going to say Ron Rifkin, but that's another story. Okay.
Yeah.
So next show, Michael's going to wear the green wig, right?
I think
Sure.
so. You could probably use one of these wigs, no?
I'll take any color. It doesn't matter. So any color. But, we got to make sure everyone subscribes to the channel, like the page. We got 2 elimination games tonight. Islanders can advance to their first conference final in 27 years. And the biggest Golden Knights, I mean, what can you say about them? 3rd year in the league and the close advancing to another conference final. Well, let's start off with the Islanders. If they advance, which is kind of funny, they advance to the conference final. Like I said, the first time in 27 years, they'll face Tampa Bay, who ironically, their inaugural year was the 92-93 season. So they've been in the league 27 years. So it's a little more success than the Islanders in that 27 years. But well, let's get right to our guest, Andrew Gross, who covers the Islanders from Newsday. Andrew,
how you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm holding in there. It's a different days, kind of the same routine.
Exactly. But I guess the big news of the day is the game time decisions for both centers for the Islanders and the Flyers. So we'll start off with Matt Barzal. What's the latest?
Yeah, I mean, you saw the play late in Game 5. Claude Giroux's stick kind of comes under his visor, bloodies his face right near his right eye. I think that could have been way worse than it wound up being. Barry Trotz said after the morning skate, it's a game time decision. However, Alain Vigneault, the Flyers coach, kind of spilled the beans the day before, if we are to believe all this, coach gamemanship, saying he had rode up the elevator with Barzal and the Islanders coaches and, quote unquote, the young man luckily is okay. AV admitting it could have been much worse, but he said he had no doubt that Barzal would be able to play in Game 6. Now, what's difficult, if you're not in that bubble, you just have to take other people's words for it. Usually in non-pandemic times, I'd be able to give you a report on whether his face was swollen up, whether his eye was closed, that kind of stuff. But that's, obviously the media are being kept away from the players in the bubble. So, no first-hand reports on whether he will or will not be able to play tonight.
I mean, the only thing we know for sure, it's definitely an upper body injury.
Yeah.
Does this make the acquisition of J.G. Pageau even more important? Because if Barzal can't go, he can slide up to the first line, take those minutes, and then you can slide Brassard over as a third-line center. It seems like even if Barzal can't play, it seems like they do have some options with their roster.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And, playing, number one center is a role J.G. Pageau is used to playing with his former team, the Ottawa Senators. So I think he would be, he's such an accommodating player and he's such a dangerous player, too. That you're correct. I think he could easily slide between Anders Lee and Jordan Eberle and make an impact. Now, no one's going to make you forget about Matthew Barzal because of the unique way he plays hockey for the Islanders. It is 2 different styles. Pageau will give up the puck much quicker than Matt does, and he won't, skate circles around the offensive zone with that patience looking, to create time and space for his line mates the way Matty can. But still, I would have no doubts that Pageau would be very effective between Anders and Jordan Eberle. The question then becomes is, the beautiful thing about J.G. Pageau is how he lengthens out the lineup. If you liken it to a batting lineup in baseball, you say a team is strong 1 through 9. Well, with J.G. Pageau in the lineup, they're really strong 1 through 12. If you take Barzal out, you move Pageau up, even if you slide Derek Brassard over to center, and that was a role that he was initially signed to play, that third line center. But he didn't, he was not as effective in that role. He's been much more effective as a wing. So it kind of shortens your lineup a little bit, whether you bring in a Ross Johnson or a Tom Kuhnhackl who can play the middle, Tommy Ken, or, really the only pure center on the bench right now is Otto Koivula, and he's only got 12 games of experience. So I don't know if Trotz would necessarily take that route.
Now on the other side, Sean Couturier, who left Tuesday's game, and what's the update on him?
Again, just going off of Alain Vigneault's words, he seemed less confident that Sean Couturier would be able to play Game 6. Obviously, that kind of open ice, somewhat nasty collision with Barzal in the second period of Game 5. And I think he played one more shift after that, tried to give it a go, but his leg was really, really uncomfortable. Didn't play at all in the third period or overtime. If you listen to AV, it sounds a little more doubtful that Couturier plays tonight. And you sort of, the Islanders, the Flyers went up 3-1 without Couturier in the lineup, but the Islanders also battled back to force that game into overtime. And Couturier was a big absence there. In a way, I almost think he might be a bigger absence than Barzal would be, just because they don't have a J.G. Pajot to plug in there. At best, they probably slide Claude Giroux over to the center. But I don't necessarily know that AV's options coming off the bench are better than the Islanders if Couturier is out. Plus, Couturier is, without a doubt, one of the best 200-foot, two-way centers in the NHL, a Selke Trophy finalist. So, you don't replace a guy like that. And AV did not sound very encouraging that he was going to be in the lineup tonight.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. All things being equal, I think if both players do not play, I think the Islanders can handle that situation better than Philadelphia, and the way they play, the way they're able to just shut down others. It's just a different system. So it would be a huge loss for Philly, which would be a big gain for the Islanders. So let's go.
One thing I noticed too, over the course of this series, as this series has developed, the Islanders have done a fantastic job of keeping the Flyers out of the high danger areas, outside the face-off dots, keeping them to the point. However, it looks like the Flyers have adjusted a little bit, and you've seen it, especially in the two games that the Flyers won, being able to get shots through from the point. You saw it especially in the overtime goals. Has Trotz mentioned that at all, about the spacing between the defensemen and the forwards in their own zone and any adjustments they might make?
Oh yeah, it's been a topic of discussion probably the last 3 days in our Zoom media access with the Islanders. The way the Flyers have sort of been able to stretch out the Islanders' defense in the Islanders' zone, and not only stretch them out north-south, but the Flyers are doing a really good job going, one side to the other, really getting the Islanders to have to shift east-west. And, getting their whole unit having to go to their left or go to their right. And that's created some shooting lanes for the Flyers. And it's also created an ability for the Flyers to get, a forward down low, as you saw in the winning goal in overtime with that, the deflection. A point shot gets deflected down, and the goalie really has no choice. So it's something the Islanders are aware of. They have not necessarily adjusted perfectly to it, because the Flyers were still able to do it effectively in Game 5. But it is definitely something to watch in Game 6, what kind of adjustments the Islanders make to keep that low to high option, unavailable for the Flyers, so they don't stretch out the defense.
Right. Now, speaking of the defense, Nicoletti, who was so good to start off the playoffs, the last couple of games, he struggled a bit. Now, is there any talk that Trotz may insert Boychuk into the lineup? And not necessarily for Letty, but for potentially Green?
No specific talk of lineups. I mean, even, if the teams weren't being in a bubble right now, coaches give out as little information during the playoffs as possible. So Trotz would never come out and say, oh yeah, I'm thinking of Boychuk for Letty or Boychuk for Green. However, Barry did say there was a plan A and a plan B that sort of hinged on whether Matthew was going to be able to play. And I would think that might also extend to the defenseman, because without Barzy on the power play, maybe you're looking for something a little bit different. Not necessarily a Boychuk in that spot, but I haven't thought the Islanders' defense has been great the last 2 games. So maybe Barry is looking to switch it up and get, Johnny would represent, those quote unquote fresh legs there. But that's all speculation. There's been no specific talk as to whether he's looking to change up the defense.
With all that being said, like the Flyers have definitely pushed back, and the Islanders at times have not handled that. And but as the series has evolved, it's been pretty clear. And Semyon Varlamov has been fantastic, but Carter Hart has had to be the number 1 star almost every night for the Flyers to be in these games. Do you see anything changing there? Has he struggled a little bit in the third period of Game 5? Has AV talked at all about getting a little more support for Hart, because he at times has really absolutely stood on his head and is single-handedly – Brock Nelson could probably have 3 or 4 more goals in this series, just him alone.
Yeah, no, AV actually said that he thought, Game 4 and Game 5 were the 2 best games the Flyers have played in the playoffs. That's not including that 3-game round robin where they earned the top seed in the Eastern Conference by going 3-0-0. But AV loves where their game is right now. He thinks it's trending certainly in the right direction. But you're right. Carter Hart saved that game for the Flyers in overtime, stopping both Brock and Devon Tays at very close range in overtime before the Flyers were able to pot the winner. So no specific talk on tightening the defense, but just an overall talk of the Flyers continuing to have to raise their game. I don't suspect the Islanders are going to be, as kind of loose on the details, as Barry might say, as they were in the last 2 games. That, specifically means tightening up the defense. So I think the Flyers know they have to kind of do the same in their defensive zone to limit some of those chances and not kind of put Carter Hart on an island, excuse the pun, at certain times during the game.
Now, do you think?
Well played.
Yeah. Now, do you think, obviously, with the bubble situation, it's really helped the Islanders? Because Game 2 they're down 3-0. Game 5 they're down 2 goals. The fact that they can come back without having a hostile crowd against them.
It's interesting. You can kind of go 2 ways there, because sometimes hostile crowds really pump up an opponent. Players talk about how being booed or jeered really gets their juices flowing as well. So I think it works both ways. I do know in Newsday's columnist Neil Best wrote about this, that maybe the Islanders are hurt today because this is a Game 6 up 3-2 where they definitely need to grab momentum back. And this game would have been at the Coliseum, which would have just been a nut house tonight. And you talk, Barry Trotz, when we watch these games on TV, it doesn't seem all that bizarre, because NBC and the television partners and the NHL are pumping in this fake crowd noise to give it, just a little bit of normalcy for the viewer. But the personnel in the arena don't get any of that. And Barry Trotz was saying the other day, it's very, very quiet in the arena, like eerily quiet. You're talking about with the 2 teams and the equipment staff and the management up in the suites and the limited number of media that are actually in the building, you're talking under 100 people total in a building that holds 20,000 people. So Barry Trotz says it's very quiet, and it's almost rare that you bump into another person in the hallways or outside of the benches. So the teams have to build up their own momentum The Islanders have been very good at that. You've seen the 2 games where they've come back from big deficits, even though they lost both games in overtime. So the Islanders, I think, are equipped to handle that.
All right, Andrew. Thank you for your time tonight. I'll go check out Andrew Newsday and on Twitter at @Gross Newsday. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Guys, take care. Be well.
You too. Thanks.
We appreciate him stopping by because we know game's starting soon. He's got a lot of work to do, and Andrew's always been great to us. So once again, thank you for coming out tonight. And check him out on Twitter. He's a great follow, especially for any kind of breaking news regarding the team. Guys, you want to talk before we talk about Vegas, because it says there we're going to talk about Vegas down there.
Right.
I just wanted to talk about Colorado real quick. With all the injuries that this team has right now, they still come back. They force the Game 7. They're decimated by injuries. They have lost their 2 starting goalies, a top four defensemen, 3 of their top 9 forwards, and it's almost like Makar, McKinnon, and Rantanen are like, okay, we got this. Crazy performance last night. 2 stats for you that might blow your mind. McKinnon has more points now than anyone over the entire course of last year's playoffs, and he's only played 14 games.
Right.
And Cale Makar has the most points ever for a rookie defenseman in the playoffs.
And we're 2 rounds away from the final.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Crazy.
they did play those 3 games, but still, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And Quentin Hughes, I think, is second with 14
And he's
points.
second. That shows you how great Hughes is. Yeah.
Right.
Do we think Vancouver can force a Game 7 tonight? Or how do we feel about that series?
I think both series close out tonight. I think the Islanders have too much for Philadelphia, especially if Couturier is not playing. And I just think that Vegas they're just too well balanced, and they're the best team in the West. There's a lot of parity in the league, obviously, but I really do think that the experience on that team and just the way they've been playing, I feel like they're going to close it out, and I certainly hope the Islanders close it out. Now, as a hockey fan, I am definitely rooting for the Islanders. There's no doubt. But as a pure hockey fan, there's nothing I want more than 2 Game 7s. But
No,
I wouldn't mind.
no.
I wouldn't mind Vancouver winning tonight. That would be fine.
Better.
But I certainly want the Islanders to close it out tonight.
Right. And also, Thatcher Demko, who's kind of thrown into that spotlight. He's a top-notch quality, prospect. He's going to be the number 1 goalie for years.
Yeah.
He had
Seattle.
Right. I don't know about that, but he had his playoff moment right there. They peppered him, and he looked calm. He took that and knocked everything away. I think that was a one-time thing. I think Vegas is just gonna. I
can see Vegas winning 7-2 tonight.
I think it's going to be over early, and nothing against Vancouver. I mean, Vancouver had a nice run, but this ran into a better team.
Yeah, I agree. Vancouver's they're not nearly as talented as Tampa Bay is, but it feels like they're a year or 2 away from.
But they will be.
No, that's what I'm saying. They're a year or 2 away from. Look at Tampa. In this era of parity in the NHL, I actually do believe that Tampa is head and shoulders above everyone else. And because look what they did last year, they kept all their talented guys. They kept the Kucherovs, the Braden Points, the Tyler Johnsons, the Palots, the Killorns, you name it. It goes on and on. And they added, who did they add? They added Barclay Goodrow. They added Bogosian. They added
Patrick Maroon,
Blake Coleman.
Yeah,
they added some sandpaper guys who are tough and they're just I don't see anyone. Funny enough, the Islanders are the only team that I feel have a chance to stick with them because of the system, because of how good they are at pushing teams to the outside. But man, that Tampa team is loaded.
And and it's funny. You mentioned all those guys. There's one you didn't mention, Steven Stamkos, and they're doing this all without him. He hasn't played since March. Just shows their depth, and I think they needed. I know it's going to sound weird, them to lose that series against the Blue Jackets last year, to really look in the mirror and see what they needed. And I know they've had success. They've gone to a final like 5 years ago, a couple of conference finals. But to get over the hump, I think they needed to address what they were missing last year. And like you said, they did. And it's going to be a tough out, whether it's the Islanders or Philly. It's going to be tough to beat Tampa. And,
in fairness, everyone was, kind of just blaming the whole team for the sweep against Columbus last year. But last year, Vasilevsky wasn't very good. He's playing out of his mind. He's playing like a top 3 goalie in the league right now. And if he keeps playing like that, they're gonna be just a monster to get past.
Absolutely. So
I mean, you can argue that Stamkos is the fourth best player on the Lightning now, and that's no slight to him.
no,
No,
I
absolutely.
mean, just with the way Kucherov, Point, and Hedman are, and actually Vasilevsky, you can maybe argue that he's fifth. That just shows you how deep that team is, and I don't think you can say that about any other team in the league.
And you know the players like Yanni Gourde and
Great role player.
Yeah, and Anthony Cirelli. I mean that's the heart and soul of your team. You know,
And they still have Killorn, they still have Palat, they still Tyler Johnson can still give you a big goal.
Absolutely.
They're just so deep.
They brought in Luke Shen, who's not, you know, he's a fourth line player, but
he contributes.
He's hard to play.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's focus on tomorrow's game 7. Really, the only one we have right now. Michael Hutchinson. I mean, you know, playoffs are a great time. You see all these, you know, people take their role and run with it. We saw that last year with Jordan Binnington. Maybe this is Michael Hutchinson. I mean, you know, he's bounced around quite a bit in his career. You know, been in so many organizations, getting a chance. I mean, basically, he was what, the 4th string goalie.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think they were one step from getting David Abisher back to play. But yeah, I mean, they have. I mean, you mentioned the talent that this team has. They had a little adversity, but I think now it's going to be they're going to run away with Game 7.
We might have a Hamburglar moment.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Absolutely right.
Oh, wait, real quick, because you mentioned David Abisher. 2002, me and my buddy, who was a big Leafs fan, we drive up to Toronto for a game against. It was the Maple Leafs were very good at that time, and so obviously Colorado was stacked and loaded at that time. I think that was the year they actually won the cup. So we go up there and we're driving up, and it's like, okay, this is a Saturday night game, hockey night in Canada. It's going to be 2 stacked lineups, and it's going to be Waugh versus Curtis Joseph. And we get there, and they announce the starting lineups. It's David Abisher against shit. I don't even remember who the backup was for Curtis Joseph. I want to say Andrew Raycroft, but that seems wrong. I got to look it up now while you guys talk. But that we get up there, and it's like, this is going to be great. Waugh versus Joseph, and neither goalie started.
Well, I mean, the play on
I'm
the
looking it up right now because I'm going to get mad at myself because I can't remember who the backup for the Toronto was.
Yeah.
Backup for Toronto. And what year? 2002, you said?
I think so. It was Curtis Joseph's last year as a Maple Leaf, because I remember my buddy was going to was about to buy a jersey of him. I'm like, dude, never get a jersey of a guy with last year in his contract. He's like, Curtis Joseph will be a Maple Leaf forever, and he signed with Detroit the next year.
Okay.
Let's see. Hold on. It was 0102, so it was 02, and the backup goalie was it was Corey Schwab. Oh God.
Corey. Okay.
Yep. David Abisher versus Corey Schwab.
That sounds like an AHL matchup right there. You stay for the game?
Yeah, no, the game was fantastic. We had a great time, but it was just like, that's not quite what we were expecting.
No, absolutely. But if the Islanders win tonight, I know they really want to have a game on Saturday. So I guess the report is that if the Islanders win, there'll be a Game 7 in that series, or there'll be a Game 7 period on Saturday. That'll be Islanders Tampa. If the Islanders win Saturday in Toronto, though. So I guess
so. What Game 2 would be Monday in Edmonton? They'd make them fly and play on Monday, or would they give them? You think they give them an extra day off?
I don't probably extra day, but I mean, even in a bubble, the Islanders still have arena drama. So
hey, if any team can handle not playing in the same arena, it would be them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right. That's true.
Yeah.
Before we get to trivia, we want to touch a little bit on baseball, right? We want to talk. Do you want since no, you Vartan, actually, you are the avid Met fan here. Do you want to touch on probably the most important person to the Mets franchise, Tom Seaver, who passed away yesterday at the age of 75?
Yeah. In my opinion, the greatest Met of all time. Obviously a Hall of Famer, 300 game winner, 3,000 strikeouts. A guy who his consistency is what really, obviously I was too young in '69 and in the early '70s, but obviously I've watched a lot of video and just his.
But you were alive. I
was alive. There's no doubt about that. He was just a guy who loved the game so much and was able to. I was watching Bob Costas yesterday or this morning talk about him, and he was just saying a player who knew the craft so well and was able to explain the craft so well, but at the same time explain what it meant to him emotionally and where baseball lied in his heart. And he just, by all accounts, was the greatest teammate and just probably top 3 best pitchers of all time. He's truly an icon. And Noel told me that they're gonna build a statue and put it out front of Citi Field next year, which I think could not be more appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, you probably don't want a Yankee fans, opinion on this, but that should have been erected when Citi Field was
absolutely
built.
100%.
Absolutely. And being a Yankee fan, he worked on the WPIX forecast with Phil Rizzuto for a few years, and ironically, he won his 300th game with the White Sox on Phil's Day, which was great. And I remember him a little bit in the '80s. He came back with the Mets, I think, in '83.
Right.
The Sox and the White Sox before retiring, and then back to work as food for both teams. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of Yankee fans, a little bit older, were heartbroken when Mickey Mantle passed away. That was their idol and stuff. And I feel like a lot of Met fans have that today, or last night when Tom Seaver, that was their guy. And so it's like the childhood, kind of like lost a little bit, having the passing of Tom Seaver.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like I said, I wasn't old enough to actually watch him play live, but being a Mets fan, you learn about Mets culture and there are many players in Mets history that just have a certain aura, for different, whether it's Lenny Dykstra or Tom Seaver, for different reasons, or Darryl Strawberry or Doc Gooden. I mean, it's just, for all of the bad years we've had, the 2 World Series we won, the 5 World Series appearances, it's been a fun organization, an organization that until the Will Ponds took over, it's hard to dislike the Mets. It's hard to hate the Mets, let's say. You can dislike them if you're in the National League East. But, anyone who hates the Mets, it's like hating the Cubs. It's,
Mets fans hate the Mets.
Yeah,
exactly. You're right. We're the only ones who hate the Mets, especially.
We're 2 diehard Yankee fans, and neither of us dislike the Mets. I'm a Mets well-wisher. I have nothing. I always think it's better for the city when both teams are great.
Oh, I got to tell you a funny story. When I first moved I lived in New York for about 2 years. In '93, when the Rangers won the Cup, it was just, and the city was insane. But so my second or third day there, I'm walking around with my Mets hat, and a dude with a Yankees hat walks by me. He goes, "That's cute." He said, "That's cute," and I feel like the Yankees fans' relationship with the Mets fans is different. It's a polar opposite. The Yankees fans look down at the Mets fans like, our cute little brother, he's sweet. Yeah. He'll probably be a doctor, but he's not going to be a baseball player. Let's be real. And us Mets fans, we look up at the Yankee. Oh God, the juggernaut of MLB for the last century. And your uniform.
Dad loves you more. Dad loves you more.
Yeah, and your uniforms are the best fucking uniforms in baseball, and your logo and the colors and the pinstripes, everything is so iconic. And yes, we've got Brooklyn Dodger blue and New York Giants orange, but it's not the same. Wearing electric blue and bright orange in public is a hard thing to pull off without feeling stupid.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Well, no, in baseball. In hockey, it's a must.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But it's funny because both the new Yankee Stadium and Citi Field opened the same year in 2009. I'd rather go to Citi Field any day.
Absolutely. Light years better. Light years.
I haven't been to the new Yankee Stadium, but Citi Field's awesome.
It's great.
Yankee Stadium is nice. It's nice, but it's like it's a fancy mall. It's like they built the Glendale Galleria. It's just a really like douchey mall that you get dragged to, and you don't like any of the stores there. Like none of, you know what I mean? It's very pretty. It's very opulent. There's some nice places to eat, but it's not the place you want to be. Whereas Citi is like going to Citi is more like going to see a baseball game. The food is awesome, but it's like just going to that little pub with your boys and just having a good time, as opposed to going to some just douche fest that you don't want to be at. And I'm a diehard Yankee fan. I do. It's just not the same. I don't dislike. Once I'm actually in the seat at Yankee Stadium, it's fine. It just doesn't have that aura at all.
Yeah.
But in fairness, they just did a little remodeling on Yankee Stadium where Citi Field was built from the from.
Yeah, but it's the concourse is so over the top opulent. It's crazy.
Yeah, but
that's Brooklyn for you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean the Bronx. Sorry.
All right. Now before we get
getting my boroughs all mixed up.
Yeah. Before we get trivia in a couple minutes, I got another trivia question for you right now. Tom Seaver is the fourth highest percentage being elected into Hall of Fame, 98.8. I believe you can see on the crawl. Can you name the three players ahead of him?
Ken Griffey Jr.
Yep.
Mariano Rivera.
Yep.
Yeah. And can you give us a hint of an era or decade?
It ended a couple years ago.
Hmm.
All right, I'll give you another hint. He's not quite in the Hall yet because of this whole year.
Oh, so he's going in this year?
Think about it.
Is it Derek Jeter?
Derek Jeter, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because the one jackass who left him off his ballot.
That's right.
Yeah, but
oh, that's right. I mean, that I can't wait for there to be transparency in MLB voting for the Hall of Fame. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. Get in the first year. You know, the only time was Robbie Alomar when he spit on the umpire. They made him wait a year. That's fine. But everyone, if you're a Hall of Famer, you're a Hall of Famer. People watch Ken Griffey Jr.
Like Kurt Schilling's a Nazi will make him a little bit.
Screw that Hall of Fame. But a guy like Ken Griffey Jr., how can someone look at him and say he's not a Hall of Famer? Or Greg Maddux, or Marianne, everyone voted. But all these guys, even Tom Seaver, people, and then if you go way back, I know a ton of racist and asshole sports writers back in the day with, Babe Ruth. How does Babe Ruth not get it? Or Gehrig, Maggio, all those guys. It's
why did it take Jim Rice so long?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
the media hated him.
Right, of course. And you look at a guy like Jeff Kent, who should be in the Hall of Fame, former Met, but he's not sniffing anywhere near,
right?
Because
he might never get in.
Yeah, because he was difficult. It's a shame, but condolences to the whole Seaver family and all the Met fans. It's a shame, and hopefully they'll have a nice ceremony once fans, can come back next year, unveiling a statue and everything. But before we get to trivia, surprising news. I know neither one of you are big NBA guys, but I had to mention this. Steve Nash, two-time.
Oh, I'm a diehard Nets fan. Diehard.
Diehard. You name three players.
No, see what happens when the Islanders moved to Brooklyn. I was like, okay, I'll be a Nets fan too. And then I forgot I was a Nets fan for like 4 years. And then they signed KD and Kyrie, and I remembered I was a Nets fan again. That's how it works.
Yeah.
And then we didn't play at all this year. I forgot I was a Nets fan again. But now I remember that I'm a Nets fan again.
Yeah, you know what? Because you had to go into the the store, the team store that said all for Islander game day. You'd go in there, but it still said Nets team store. Had nothing up top, and half the store was Nets. So whatever. But this kind of came out of nowhere. Two-time MVP. He was working with the Warriors organization as like an advisor for a couple of years. No coaching experience, but apparently KD and Kyrie signed off on this and did a surprise.
Yeah. I mean, a guy who has zero coaching experience. I mean, he obviously was, one of the great players of his time, but that doesn't always translate to being a leader of men, a motivator of men, especially in this day and age where these are kids who are making so much money, who are so entitled, who are probably a little less, inclined to listen to an authority figure than maybe 20, 30 years ago. So it's going to be an interesting first couple of years to see how he does.
But he's not so far that removed from the game that he can't, everybody of this generation knows who Steve Nash is.
No, for sure.
I think he will. I think he will demand respect. I love Steve Nash. It was one of my favorite players when he was playing. The only thing I have against him is he's a huge Tottenham Hotspur fan, and Hotspur shit. So Spurs are shit. So I don't like him for that. And he is the first NBA head coach and football and analyst at the same time. So I guess he's probably not doing that anymore. So it is an interesting hire. It seems like he was handpicked by Durant and with the influence of Kyrie. So we'll see how this goes. But definitely, gives a little buzz to that borough. And as we know, the Knicks just keep, stumbling across their own feet. It will be interesting to see what the Nets look like in the New York landscape of sports next year with Kyrie and KD and now Nash. And I think it should be pretty entertaining.
Yeah, and I feel like the NBA, more than any of the sports, having a head coach or manager, it's more about like dealing with egos. Look at Jackson, they had Scott, Pippen and Jordan, and then Shaq and Kobe. You have those guys. Even Steve Kerr, who had no experience getting the job, all of a sudden he's one of the best coaches of all time because he knows how to. He played with Jordan and Pippen. He knows, being around with egos. With obviously Steph Curry and the KD and stuff like that. So I think being a Hall of Fame player, two-time MVP, it gives you some, cachet, with those players as well. And he immediately becomes the third best player in New York basketball. Right. Right. Player the Knicks than Steve Nash, right?
No, I think you're right. And in the NBA, especially, the role of the head coach is to manage those egos and to keep the star players' psyche in a place where they're hungry
and managing their minutes too.
Absolutely. Whereas I think football, that's an entirely different thing. There's so much going on the football field, and there's so many different. I think coaching the NFL must be such a hard thing to do. That's why. Yeah, I just, Sean McVay, when he was, 32 when he got the Rams job? I mean, to me, that was insane. I was like, I'm 20 years older than this guy. This is insane. And hockey, I think hockey's a mix of the two. There are systems and, things you have to implement. And they're also managing the egos of all of these stars. But the hockey culture is very much less me, and us. So that makes it a little bit easier, I would imagine.
It is also harder for a new coach to break into the NHL as well. It seems like there's 38 coaches for 32 jobs, and they kind of recycle. And that's something to be said there, that the league needs to change. They need some new voices. They need younger voices, not so detached from the game right now.
And that goes back to the point you just made about Steve Nash. He's not so far removed from the game.
Right.
He's lost touch of the modern game. He knows what it is. Whereas all these NHL coaches, for the ones who've haven't played the game in 30 or 40 years. They've been around it, so they can see it with their eyes, but there's a difference, so it's it'll be interesting. And were we talking about basketball? Sorry.
Are you boys ready for trivia?
Let's do it.
I got it on my phone this week. I didn't have a chance to print it out, so we're going to have to do that. But the question is, can you name the franchise leader in goals for each team? So all 31 franchises, who leads each franchise in goals? And who won 2 weeks ago? I don't remember. I think Noel did, right?
So far, what is it? 5-5-1?
I don't. We who knows? We don't even know anymore.
All right. Well,
it's pretty even though. It's evened out.
No, I have one win. That's it.
No, you have more than one win. You have at least 2 wins.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
That being said, a little shameless plug. We're kind of editing our face-off segments and putting them on YouTube, so you can watch them at your leisure, and you can do the math for us and let us know what the standings are. I'll be.
How about that animation too? How nice is that?
Animation's great. Yeah, absolutely. Everything looks good. So here we go.
So how are we doing this? Are we flipping a coin and going alphabetically, or just throw them out?
No, Vartan, you can start, and then just go. You can go for whatever team you want, and then just name the all-time leader in goals for that franchise. Now, just before we go, Colorado includes Quebec, Winnipeg includes Atlanta, Phoenix includes Winnipeg, old Winnipeg, and Carolina includes Hartford. And no one cares about New Jersey.
Don't care about the Rockies.
They've moved so many times, no one fucking cares.
I'm gonna get rid of one that I'm not quite sure of, but Luc Robitaille for the LA Kings.
Yes, Luc Robitaille is correct.
All right. Anytime that he can be answered, I have to answer it with this guy. Gilbert Perreault for the Sabres.
Every time we've done trivia outside of goalies, Gilbert Perreault is in there.
Yeah. Correct.
And let's see. I'm going to go with Dan's favorite player of all time, Ron Francis for Carolina.
Yeah, screw that dude. You are correct.
Damn, you beat me to it. All right, I have to get this one out of the way. Mike Bossy.
Yes, Mike Bossy. Yep.
Okay, let's see. Boston Bruins, Johnny Busick, only because they mentioned it on the broadcast a couple weeks ago. I would have never known.
That is correct. The Chief.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm like, oh shit, I had no idea. I was watching that too. I'm like, oh wow, that's good to know.
I knew that. Yeah, I met Johnny a couple times. He is a fantastic human being. I wonder if he's on Twitter. Maybe he'll come on. Love the Chief.
Cool.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. All right. One of my all-time favorite players, Timo Solani for the Ducks.
Yeah. Correct. Yep.
Okay. Staying in the Pacific, let's go Jerome McGinley for Calgary.
Correct.
Yeah. And for Quebec / Colorado, Joe Sakic.
Correct.
Nice. Who else is in the West? Vancouver. That's tough. Let's stay away from that for a while.
That one's tricky. He might not want to do that one.
Yeah.
No, let's go something easy. Let's go Dallas, Mike Modano.
There you go.
All right. I'm going to go Chicago, and it's got to get the right one. Bobby Hall.
Correct.
Gordie Howe, Detroit.
Correct.
Yeah. Edmonton, Gretzky.
Correct.
San Jose, Patrick Marleau.
Correct.
I'm going to go because I mentioned him, I think, our first trivia for the Devils, Patrick Elias.
Correct.
Yes, he's played his entire career in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he played his entire career. Yep.
You said Bossy Rangers.
Ooh, really want to do Rangers?
Ooh. Okay, see, I'm torn because part of me wants to think original six.
Right.
Because
they have a real shitty history.
But they didn't play that many games, as But
they have like the fewest number of players in the Hall of Fame from the originals, in their original 16.
All right, let's go something a little easier. Let's go Daniel Alfredson in Ottawa.
There you go.
I'll have to say Pittsburgh Penguins, Mario Lemieux.
Correct.
I was thinking about that, and I really did not know if it was Mario or Jaromir, but I guess Mario played more games, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but it has to be for Arizona. It has to be Shane Doan.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, he's played 100,000 years for them.
I guess I'll go Montreal or Rocket Richard.
Correct.
Nice. Let's see. What's left? What teams? Give me some teams that are left. I can't.
Washington, Tampa.
Ovechkin.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tampa. He's still playing. Steve Stamkos.
Yes.
Yep.
Not playing, but he's active.
Flyers, Maple Leafs, Rangers, Canucks.
I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna go. Rod Gilbert with the Rangers.
Correct. New Jets, Blue Jackets, Wild.
Ooh, God, it's getting tough.
Predators.
Ooh, Predators.
If one of you guys get Predator, I'm gonna be so freaking impressed. Panthers, Golden Knights.
I know.
Golden Knights, William Karlsson.
Correct.
Yeah, I knew the Golden Knights. Let's
give
get a shot.
Left here.
Okay, you said Philadelphia, man.
Philadelphia's tricky. It's not who I thought it was.
My instinct is to go with the captain, but I don't think it's. I'm gonna take a stab at Vancouver.
Okay.
God, they had so many good players though. Marcus Snavely, Trevor Linden. But
I think it's someone who's been longevity too. You know, that's the thing you have to think of as well.
I think it's one of the twins, and I've got to get it right. I got to figure out who is the disher and who is the scorer. I think Daniel was the scorer. I'm going to go with Daniel Sedin.
That is correct.
Woo!
Wow.
Vancouver was tough.
Good one there. The Russian roulette.
I'm so far down. I don't really care. I'm just trying to see what sticks on the board.
Oh God, I'm gonna
Flyers.
I'm gonna try.
Leafs.
I'm gonna try Columbus. Rick Nash.
Columbus. Okay. Rick Nash is correct.
Yes, that one I knew. Shit, I should have said that. Maple Leafs. Oof. See, the Maple Leafs, funny enough, are one of the original six whose players from the 60s to the mid to late 80s, I really don't know any of them. I know a lot of the Bruins,
really only one superstar in that whole era.
Yeah.
70s at least.
Can I ask you a question? And based on that answer, I will say what I think.
Of course you can.
Has this player played for more than 10 years for Toronto?
He played with Toronto for more than 10 years.
Okay. I'm going to go with Matt Sundin.
Correct.
St. Louis.
Oh, shit.
Oh, we forgot about that one. Yeah, forgot about that one. Yes.
So Florida, Nashville.
Flyers, Wild, Predators, Panthers, New Jets. That's who's left.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
All right. I'm gonna try to go with Oh, Minnesota. God, that's so tough.
It's actually not if you think about it.
Well, I mean, it's definitely not Parisi. I mean, Eric Stahl's got to be up there, but
he's only there a couple of years, though.
I'm going to pass. What else? Florida. Oh, God. See, this is tough, man.
Nashville Flyers.
Oh, God. Flyers. All right. So who is one of the great Flyers? I don't think it's Clark. I really don't. And I don't think it's Lindros. I don't think it's LeClaire. I don't think it's any of those guys. It's one of the. All right, Bill Barber.
Yes, Bill Barber is correct.
Yes!
That was really impressive.
Do I get it? Can we end the game there?
You
Because
might.
I don't want to answer Nashville, Florida.
We only have 3 teams left. We have New Jets, Predators, and Panthers.
All right, I'm gonna go New Jets and Ilya Kovalchuk.
That's correct.
Oh wow! Oh, that's right. The Thrashers.
Yep. Predators and Panthers.
Well, the Predator. Okay, here's my dilemma for the Predators. I'm thinking Philip Forsberg. Maybe Roman Josi because he's been there forever. I'm thinking maybe Shea Weber, but he's a defenseman, so that's not. And then for Florida, Jesus, Pavel Bure, but he didn't play there long enough. I feel like Scott Melanie was always scoring, but he didn't play there long enough.
This guy played there a while.
For Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me a hint?
Waffles.
Waffles.
One of the funniest gifts of all time is this player staring at a waffle.
I don't remember.
Do you know it, Noel? Okay, last hint. He played for Vartan's team and Noel's team.
Florida Panther all-time goal scorer, played for the Kings
and the Islanders. Noel, do you know it?
He went from the Kings to the Islanders.
I know. Olli Jokinen.
Correct.
Was he like second overall? Third overall?
Something like that, yeah. So one left here, the Predators. Impressive job, by the way, by you guys.
Wait,
There's really no lose.
Did we do Nashville?
No, we did not. Noel has to get Nashville here. And I'm going to say it right now, if Noel gets this, because it's insane, if Noel gets this, he's the winner.
No, that's not fair. That's not.
This name is so absurd. There's no way you're getting it.
I'm thinking, how to be like their first draft pick.
Oh shit! I know who that is.
David Legwand.
For the win.
I knew who it was. I knew when you said their first draft pick.
Yeah.
He was number 2 overall.
And he played like 20 years there and scored
his entire career there.
He scored like 15 goals a year.
Oh my God! I never. Well,
210 goals. Yeah.
Yeah. That was
done. We gotta give Noel the win for knowing his name in that one.
It's a draw.
We'll call it a tie. We're gonna call it a tie. Okay, good. I don't have a tiebreaker question, so
yeah.
You can invent one.
Okay.
No, that's really impressive. David Legwand. Wow.
That was good.
Yeah. No,
let's call it a draw because I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah. All right, we'll call it a draw. Good job.
Real quick before we go, do you have any cards, Noel?
Oh yes. Okay. So obviously we didn't have any cards last week because the nature of the show. So let's lighten it up a little bit here.
Okay.
So I have 2 sets. Second one's kind of a surprise to you guys. So the first set, it's some of the funny ones, and here we go. So
Joe Juno with the Huskies.
No, this is Uwe Krupp. And Uwe Krupp actually.
Uwe Krupp. Yes, it is Uwe Krupp. Yes.
And his wife had a dog sled team.
Oh my God.
This one's Olaf.
Oh, that's so good. I had this card.
Yeah, with the mustard. That's fantastic.
The mustard says Olaf.
That's great. The next one's funny too. Dean McCammon with
just hanging out with the deer.
Yep, on a snowmobile.
Right, and then this one, we always laugh about, and it's coming. This one, I love.
This is Jason Arnott. This is one of my favorite cards of all
We'll
time.
save that next time. This is Luke Richardson right now coming up.
Oh, this one's good.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to space.
According to the back of the card, in his spare time in the offseason, he would launch rockets in the sky. So there you go.
Okay.
I love that. That's great. I mean, it's that card. Yeah. So, next week we'll have some more. So anyone in the chat, any suggestions, hit me up. I'm sure I'll get them. So these a little surprised we have these cards. Beloved franchise, not a hockey franchise that we all love. The Muppets. The Muppets and the NHL collaborating for a set here. Here we go.
I remember this.
Yeah. So we have this one, all the Muppets all together, and I only want to do a couple. We'll spread these out. So we have the Islanders. So
that's what we need tonight. We need to come out like Animal.
This was the mid-'90s, so Animal was jumping ship because Milbury took over. So
yeah.
There you go. We got the Kings with Fozzie. Yeah.
Waka Waka.
Waka Waka. And, of course, since this was the 90s, we can't leave Dan out. And we have...
Yes. I don't remember the Whalers one.
It's coming. I left this one up a little too long. There we go. The Whalers and Gonzo.
Oh, Gonzo's my favorite.
Yeah.
I need a T-shirt of that.
Yeah, that's great. So we'll have more next week of those too, because not only teams, they do the positions, they do the penalties. Some of them are great. I was getting a couple more this week, but I figure I'll space them out. But there's some great ones. Plus, I'm still opening packs. Bought a whole box.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
you got some gems in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, anyone in chat, just hit us up with some funky cards that you know or you want to see, because we'll definitely show them throughout the weeks. But everyone, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Jesus, I almost said go Flyers. Let's have one game 7, not 2.
Yes, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and one more time for Bartender. Yeah.
All right, everyone.
Hey, can we get her on the show? Are we still weeking yet?
I can ask. She knows nothing about hockey, but
who cares?
Yeah, good point.
All right, guys. Have a good one.